What's up? It's Jay Whiss. You're watching Studio One.
All right, man. First things first, I want to thank you for coming to Studio One. Like, it's a pleasure to have you.
Uh,
Can you just introduce yourself briefly?
Jay Whiss, uh, artist from Toronto. You know, yeah, pretty much just it.
Perfect. So I know you grew up downtown Toronto. So at first, can you just touch upon what it was like growing up, and I guess the kind of music that you were surrounding yourself with, or things you gravitated towards?
um, well, I grew up in the St. Lawrence market area. For most people, that's how they know it. Esplanade. If you're from there, you know it as Esplanade. Um, it's just like very multicultural. A lot of like different walks of life there. There's a lot of government housing and then mixed with condos. Like it's kind of like the type of neighborhood the city's trying to like turn a lot of neighborhoods into, just in terms of gentrification and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like all different types of like money, just condos, yeah, government housing, rent, co-ops, and all that type of stuff. So it's kind of just like that. And music, I don't know. I've always like listened to a lot of music.
Yeah.
Um, from young, I remember like getting in trouble for listening to Ludacris in like grade 4. That's like probably like my favorite. Ludacris and Missy Elliott was like my like introduction into like just like the genre
Yeah.
of itself. So I listened to them a lot, especially Missy Elliott. I liked her a lot when I was younger. And then like just like when it started to change to like get more like into the deeper into the culture, I'd say it was like my mom got me the Black Album in grade 5, and I would just go to school and listen to it on repeat. And then grade 6, I would just listen to Ready to Die album by Biggie, and that was just kind of my introduction to music and stuff.
Yeah, and I think the interesting thing too is when we last spoke, you said you're more kind of geared towards watching like artist interviews, and that's kind of how you
Or more geared towards watching.
like
Sorry.
watching like artist interviews,
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
like getting inspired through watching interviews, less so than the albums that you kind of listen to. And I know Jay Z, you brought up the Black Album, and what kind of connected you to him during that time?
Well, I mean, for the interview part, I feel like it just gives more context to like what artists are saying in their music sometimes too. It's like you can only, even I know, especially from being an artist now more so, it's like there's only so much you can say in a song, right? Because like you can't make a 30-minute song, right? And
Yeah,
then it's like people are only taking it one line at a time, and it's harder to get through to people, or sometimes people might think it's just rap or whatever, but like in the interview you can see like, okay, what this guy's saying is not just music. It doesn't just sound cool. It's like what he stands by, you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? So I don't know, that's what a lot of interviews, I guess, done for me. And Jay-Z is just like, I don't know, I think we spoke on it, just like his music is just something you can like take from it, it's not just
learn
ear,
from.
yeah, it's not just like ear candy. It's like you can almost like learn, especially like if you're young, black, come from certain areas and certain walks of life, it gives you a lot of context and like of how to go about certain things, rather than some people are just like kind of, even most artists probably don't even like, that doesn't cross their mind because maybe they didn't even know really how to, maybe someone was teaching them hands on, or they're just going through life like, just taking day by day. But Jay-Z just seemed like very like thought out, and you know what I'm saying? And like a lot of times when I was younger, a lot of people used to say, think before you speak to me, because like I would get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah,
But like I was thinking before I spoke. It was just like they didn't like what I was saying, kind of things, like more so like I guess teachers and stuff like that. So I don't know. I just feel like, yeah, Jay-Z just like, yeah.
yeah. And of course, there's like this thing with like anybody. I think when like you're young, like you go into sports or you do other activities like music. When do you think music was something that you enjoyed, that you listened to, but you kind of thought to yourself like, I'm gonna start writing songs and I'm gonna start being an artist? Do you have like a moment when around that time? I
Well,
guess.
I know when I did it, but honestly, I don't even know why I did it, to be honest. At first, like it just seemed like just like a way to like, I guess, express myself. I didn't even do it that early as you would think. Probably the first time I wrote a song was maybe I was like 16. Yeah, I think I was 16. And I was just like bored at home kind of, and just like Cause like always like that's all I do. Like, you know, like my dad would say when I was young, like oh, you know every lyric to every song, but you don't do your homework type of thing, you
Yeah.
know. So it's like I just always just that's all I do. Glued to the TV. My mom would get mad, turn off. What was it? The channel Much Vibe.
Yeah, Much or BT or
Yeah, but well, yeah, as well. But Much Vibe, I used to watch a lot, like just like literally have on because that was just music videos.
yeah.
And also too, it gave a lot of Canadian content too. Like I grew up listening, like not listening, like because like you could only get it kind of on the radio and on much music, but not really as much as Much Vibe. They'd have a lot of Canadian content, and I thought that was like cool because like sometimes it would be like artists that like even there was older artists from my neighborhood or like surrounding neighborhoods and stuff, and like to see it on TV was just like always cool, you know.
Yeah. No, I to that point, I always thought it was cool because I grew up like watching like MTV Live and Much Music, and when like artists would like come and like perform
Yeah.
and things like that. So that's definitely
Yeah.
a part of
Nah,
growing
definitely.
up too. And on that note too, so I guess when it comes to music and making those songs, so I guess at what point does like when it comes to like Jimmy and Donnie, were you guys growing up together and making music? Or,
Yeah, Jimmy I met Jimmy I met later on in my life. Donnie we're from the same neighborhood, so me and Donnie like always knew each other from like when we were young. But we didn't start making music together till like probably like I remember Donnie's first session. It was funny. At Wellesley Sounds, if anybody from Toronto knows, you know what I'm saying? That was on Ontario Street. That was a sick studio. It was a really good thing over there. But yeah, we just I don't know. I guess maybe not so much Jimmy. I know Jimmy was making music before I knew him too. He was probably making music from before me, but I just like had like a little videos I would put out, or maybe I was just recording more or whatever. And then like Donnie just one day was like, yo, you know, let's go to the studio. I want to
Yeah.
make a song. And I'm like, all right, I booked the studio session. We split the session costs. We made a song, and yeah, it just started from there.
That's
Yeah.
that's an important thing to note too, because I feel like when you have like a group of friends, it could be one of those things where it's like I don't think you should make music, or and
Yeah.
I feel like you guys definitely have like been
No,
like
no.
together and like believed in each other.
For
Like
sure.
talk
I'm
about,
all about empowering, like, you
Yeah.
know, whatever people want to do. It's like that's first off too, before I'm going to tell you don't do it or like something like that. It's like, I'm going to want to see you do it first. Like, you
Yeah.
know, some people are just so close-minded towards certain things. It's just like, oh no, like, oh, you want to, it's like, you know, it's like, look, from the first time Donnie recorded, it was just like, whoa, like, you know, everybody was like, oh, this guy's sick, you know, like this
Yeah.
guy's from the first time you record. I remember that, like, everybody was super excited, you know, like, and usually that's not how, like, even for me, if you heard my first recording, you know, the niggas would not be too excited for my first one. So it was
Yeah.
good to see, like, you know, it was like, yeah, just one of those things, like, you know.
Yeah.
Some people just have it naturally and they're gonna get it the first time. And it's like before, even so, even if he wasn't even good necessarily, it's like, well, you never know how good he's gonna be. And
Yeah,
like,
and you progress and you get better and
yeah,
things like that.
if you believe in yourself, you know,
Yeah.
you work hard enough.
And now for me, I think it was 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Like me and my friends, I think we discovered, I think Sun Goes Down, I guess like every other
Mm-hmm.
Toronto person in the city. And that was like for me, like my introduction to Prime Boys and you and Jimmy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Like I guess that I know like in terms of like moments you kind of told me before, like you kind of push through and you keep it going. But for me personally, I think that was like a big moment.
For sure.
So it
was big for all of us.
Yeah.
For sure.
So can you talk about that? Because I know it's Jimmy and Sun Goes Down, but I feel like you're just as
No, yeah.
But I would love to know your perspective on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, it's like seeing other people like do good and stuff like that gives me as much, if not even more, excitement than like when I'm doing it myself. You know, I like to see like people win and people shine, you know, and like all of us are like that. Like we empower each other so much. So like, yeah, I mean, for him, like when the sun goes down, it was just like felt all the momentum, all the eyes and stuff on the city, and it was like, and it wasn't like it was like some shit that like. Or sorry, I don't know. Can we swear on here or not?
It's okay.
Okay. It wasn't like it was something that just happened overnight. You know, I see behind the scenes how much hard work goes into all of this. You know, so it was just like, yeah, I was just super excited. Sun Goes Down, amazing song. It was a whole vibe. Like, you know,
Yeah, it
Jimmy
was.
had a whole a whole like very targeted like image. Like it was just like, yeah, it was just really, it was a good time. good time for sure.
Now, on to you. I know when we talked, you said, watch this. You felt like you had discovered your sound with that song. Can you talk about the idea of, I guess, what you mean by like finding your sound, and talk about that single as well?
I feel like, I feel like, I don't know. I felt like that was the first time in like a while that like I felt like it was like super ready to go, that song. Like, okay, I need this out. Like, it has to be out. I feel like people will like it. I felt like, I don't know. I feel like flow wise and just like cadence wise and stuff like that. Like, I just like really caught it then. Like, everything started making sense from like that point on, kind of like in like a higher degree. Like, I'm very like dedicated. Like, those times I would be writing more, or like on my phone or whatever, like hearing beats and writing to it. And like, I feel like from that, like that was when like it got like everything started like really making sense a lot to me. Like,
and another single that you did with Murda Beatz, it was on his tape and it did really well. Can you touch upon that and talk about like your relationship with him? Because I know you guys do a lot of songs together.
Well, me and his relationship actually started from like Jermaine actually introduced us, like just like on, it was after Watch This. Him and Corey, I guess his manager, had heard like what I was doing, like they liked it. So they reached out, or Jermaine reached out. We linked up. We did a song that I had put out before that called Lakeshore with Donnie on it, and that we did that song. Then it's just like they're just like, yeah, we really like it, blah blah blah, we want to work with you a lot. And then like just like me and Murda are like like obviously similar ages, and we just like have a lot of like a lot of aspirations. We'd like sit up and talk for like 4 or 5 hours about like what we want with the music thing and stuff like that. So like, and then just like obviously from that, like even to this day, like everything's just like super organic, and it's never like, yo, like I don't even think I've ever asked him one time for like a beat or nothing. It's just like, because we're such close friends that like we're just in the studio, so it's just like, oh, I think that this will sound good for you, or whatever, however it works, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's never like an email being sent or whatever, like, you know, it's just like super organic. And then just like for me making music, whether it's his beats or anybody's beats, is just like literally I just throw the beat on. Like if I hear a beat I like, I'll make a song. There's not much that goes into like anything with my music. There's not much. I don't try to like overthink it with the music itself. Everything else I'm very like thought out with the videos and all that type of stuff. But like when it comes to the music, I want it to be like as organic as possible. Even now, rarely I actually write my stuff down. I usually I hear a beat, I sit there and try to come up with an idea for it, and then I go record it quick. And
on that note, when you talk about like the process of like making a record, so something like Koba World, when you, Jimmy and Donnie all come together, and I know when we talked before, like when it comes to Sonics, you guys do all different things. So when you guys come together, it works really well. Talk about the process of like making a record all together and like how you guys came about doing that. Because I know for artists, everyone kind of has their own like sound and how they want things. So there's always kind of the challenge when you have a collective coming together and having one cohesive thing. Talk about that.
It's like when in an interview and stuff like that, it's so hard to like,
because like a feeling, I guess.
No, it's so hard to like express. Like it's not even like, it's just really just so like organic. Easy. Like I don't. Organic. It's so organic because like, you know what I'm saying. Like it's just like it's just what we do, you know. So it's like when it comes to music, and like obviously we're friends for a reason, and obviously we make music with each other for a reason, right? So like if I go in and I start a song, and it's just so much easier. It's honestly probably the easiest music we've all made. Because it's like we're just feeding off each other. So like when us three are in a room, it's like it's very different, you know. So like for my project, or you know, it's very precise, and like, you know, when we're working individually, but like when we're together, it's just like very, very like organic, and like I feel like it captures more of just like a feeling, whereas like solo it's more direct, and like there's more of a direction towards it, whereas like when we're together it's just literally just us feeding off each other. Like we'll pick a beat we like, whoever goes in first, probably whoever the beat sounds most like will go in first, either do the hook or do like half of a hook, and then the person just feeds off it, and it's just so easy. It's like, okay, you said what you want to say, now I'm going to say what I want to say type of thing. So and works. It's good.
I know for artists, when they have to like record music that I guess is like more personal and it's more self-reflective, it's I always like ask about like the vulnerability of that, and because for a lot of artists, like when it comes to like releasing records, it could be so personal. Whereas like I always want to ask a question like,
Yeah.
how did it feel doing things like that? And not to like touch too much on it, but just the idea of your EP Dark Cloud. Talk to me about what it was like crafting that record, and in terms of just the. I know when we talked, you said like you're more like a selfless person, and that you feel like you help others, but you're kind of like hard on yourself, I guess. Talk to me what like that record kind of did to help you, I guess, through that situation in terms of just because I know like things like that aren't it's like a day-to-day thing, but just talk about that record and the way you think best and what it described for you.
I think, well, I mean, all my music is very like literal. So like every line, no matter what, we're just talking emotions, right? So it's like if we're making a fun record, it's like, hey, I'm gonna express myself like in terms of like, I don't know, in a fun way, I'm gonna express myself, but like I'm gonna make sure I'm expressing myself. Like my thing too, like I do like interviews, but like I feel like a lot of times like I might like ponder or something in an interview.
Yeah.
Whereas like my music as well is very like direct and literal, and I try to keep it that way. That like, I mean, in a way it's gonna make you have more questions to ask me kind of too, but like in a way also it's like you kind of already know the answer. It's kind of just like just double checking, like, you know, and that's good. Like dialect is good, you know, to have the conversation about it and to reassure, like even just interviews, it's good to reassure people that this it comes from like a certain place, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, Dark Cloud, in terms of the EP, I feel like it was more so the record that was just like big for me in terms of what you're asking me. Just like, yeah, it's just emotion, like raw, getting a point across, and just like taking stuff that you're going through, making it so other people can learn from it, take from it, feel like they're not alone, feel like, oh, other people go through it too. This guy's going through this, but he's still, you know, keeping his head up and, you know, and still striving and stuff like that. So I mean, that I think that's big, because like a lot of times, like that's why I turned to music. Like, you know, a lot of times when I was younger, maybe I was lost or whatever, a lot of music that I would listen to would like help keep things in perspective for me.
Yeah,
So.
and I think even for a lot of artists too, there's like 2 points to that in terms of like artists like to have their albums speak for themselves, and to that point, but also there is that point where it's like, I guess like in the interview journalism sense, there's the importance of like finding things out, but then there's also the element of like realizing like an artist like a human being. So I think for me, when I always like, I guess, touch upon things like that, it's kind of like, how does music help you through things like that? But on that note, and like pushing forward, I know you've released one single, Valet, for the upcoming album that we talked about. Can you touch upon that single?
It was just like really organic. I just wanted something that like a good fun record with like a sound that, you know, people are kind of similar with from me, and just and it just like me and well, I call him Loso, but Puffy L'z, me and him, like a lot of times, especially like when I'm like really rapping, like we have like a similar sound, so it just made sense. I just linked him, just said, you know, he pulled up to the studio. I had only recorded, I think, the hook at that point, and then he recorded his verse. I recorded my verse. And the song is just also like not simple, but like it's also like organic, and it's just like what we do. So it's just fun, right? That's why like I'll never, like, probably like even if there's a day that like I retire from music like publicly, if I'm like 40 or something, there's no way in hell I wouldn't be still in the studio. Every day I can be in the studio, like for sure. Like it brings me so much, like it's probably like where I'm at, like my it's like my peace, like, you know.
Yeah,
it's like where
and
I'm
that's like that's like the best part when it's organic, and that's like the joy of it all. And I guess when it becomes like more than that, it's like all hectic. But I feel like for you, you've worked with people that you genuinely like, and
ever.
Yeah,
that's always how it's gonna be. Yeah, for sure.
So I know you have another single that's gonna be released. Can you talk about that? And I know it's still not out yet, so like it's just
it's called Lalo. It's featuring Donnie. Another organic song. I don't know. It's produced by this guy named Richie Self. He works a lot with Future, and he just he was in the city. We linked up in the studio for a few days. We just worked on a few records. Jimmy worked on a few records. We all like just like worked. It's just classic studio vibes, you know, just cooking up beats or whatever, whichever ones we like, we go record on. And yeah, it's just, yeah, and the single's gonna come out. There's a video for it as well. Excited for people to see that. Excited to just keep the ball rolling. I mean, I've been working on so much music, you know, I'm just really excited. The album's coming out right after that. Within the next, like, probably, like, I'll say, like, I want to say less than a month, but probably, I don't know how it will work out, but probably, like, a month. I already handed it in. So, yeah, it's there.
And I know when we talked about, like, the debut album, you said because it hadn't been out yet, there's not much to, I guess, say on it. I guess not diving too much into it because it's not out. Talk to me about where you were when you were making the record and what the record kind of means to you without saying too much on it.
I can say as much as you want. I don't know. Like, yeah, it's just, well, mentally, I don't know. I just feel like, okay, this is my first album. It needs to be, like, you need a full, in-depth, like, almost like a biography of, like, how I got here, why I'm here, what I'm doing, what I stand for, all this type of stuff. Like, I feel like, you know, like it has to be very concise and, like, a direct, like, direction of, like, what I'm doing here and, like, yeah, just, like, what I stand for and stuff. Because, like, it's, especially when I'm making music alone, it's like, I want people to, like, know what, like, actually is going, like, even if it's just a fun record, like, I have to make sure I'm expressing myself, like, exactly precise how I want to, especially for my first album. That's how I felt on it. So it's just, like, I feel like there's, like, a big, like, not even weight off my shoulder, but, like, I worked really, really hard on it. I made sure that it's 10 records. It's 10 songs that are very near and dear. Like, there's no, like, just, like, a record. It was just, like, like, even if someone was like, nah, you should put this on, it sounds good. If it didn't, like, for me, it was just, like, everything, like, hits right on the money.
Yeah.
Especially for me. And that's what I make music for. Obviously, I want people to like my music and stuff like that, you know? And when I'm making music, I'm very conscious of, like, getting through to people, how, like, I know I'm going to get through to people even, you know, because, like, you have to speak to people in their language. You're not going to get through to people unless you're speaking to them in their language, if you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just making sure I'm getting through to people how I feel. I'm expressing myself. And I'm very excited for people to hear it and take it in, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And I guess on a final note on that, so how do you see the rest of 2020 going? And I've even talked to a few artists recently for this platform, the idea of, like, the new decade as well. How do you see things? I know, like, I can already tell, like, you're excited about the album and that's kind of where you're at, but just on a...
Going on beyond that, everything, like, I'm very prepared for what's to come. Like, you know, I'm very, like, all I do realistically is just make music, honestly. Like, you know, that's, like, even if I'm not, like, a lot of times, like, I'll just go to the studio and not record. I just like being in front of a microphone. Like, I don't even, sometimes it's just, like, I just like it being there, just ready if I get the urge to express myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes I'll just go to the studio and just watch basketball games or something, but, like, I just like being there, and, like, I like my mind to be there, and as well seeing it, it's like it doesn't let me get too distracted on, like, what my mission is, because I know this is my mission, you know? Music, like, some people, like, it's like, oh, music, I'm using music to, like, do this and that. It's like, nah, I'm using music to, because I'm not using music, but, like, this is what I'm meant to do. Like, I'm not trying to get rich off rap and then become an actor or whatever, like, how, like, you know, or have other ventures and stuff. Obviously that'll come, but, like, music is, like
your joy.
This is, it's everything for me, to be honest. So I'm very prepared for the new decade, you know, got a lot more coming after even the album, very prepared. It's mapped out. 2020 is going to be a good year for me and my people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But honestly, man, like, I think, like, in 2014, like, all of my friends, when we listened to Sun Goes Down, like, we're, like, prime boys. So, like, the fact that I've, like, finally interviewing you face to face, I know we did it on the phone call, but this is, like, amazing for me.
For sure.
Keep that joy, because that's, like, the best part of making music.
For sure.
But, yeah, man, thanks again, for sure. It's been amazing to talk.
Thank you for having me. Nice
no problem.
meeting you, for sure.
All right.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That was amazing,
nice
man.
meeting you. Yeah.